Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Slap Alert, man. It's your boy.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yes,
boys
sir.
and girls,
Yes, sir.
lions, cats, and dogs.
Yes, sir. It's your boy Jay Boris. We got reality to plug and this G thing. We got a special episode for y'all, man. Yeah, man. We had the opportunity to speak to Tyler Anderson, man. He's currently serving 10 years to life in prison for a case that has to do with his daughter passing away.
Rest in peace, Cali.
Yeah, it's a sad situation. If you follow up on the case, then you know why you're here. If you don't know, it's a sad situation. There's a link in the description that you could catch up on. But um, we're here to hear his side or what he might be going through. It might answer some of your guys' questions out there. I see a lot of comments in the little video that they posted about the situation. So without further ado, Tyler,
Yes,
hey,
yes, I'm here.
how you doing, man? Um, Man, we here, man. Man, you called in. We appreciate you calling in. We really want to thank you for your time, man. And we're happy to give you this opportunity to speak. Um, I'm Jay Bars. This is the Slap Alert. I'm talking about here my co-host Reality, and
How you
yeah,
doing?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in there. Listen, I just want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to come on your platform. You know, uh, this is going to be the first time speaking publicly. Really, my first time being able to speak freely about, everything that transpired without an attorney or a detective or a judge in front of me. So, I look forward to that. And, for over 4 years, a lot's been said about me, most of which is deserved. And I'm not on here to defend myself or justify my actions, rationalize my decisions, because I'm aware that there's nothing I can say to, excuse the poor choices I made. So what I really want to do is come on and acknowledge the things that have been said, answer questions that have been asked, and share, what actually influenced those terrible, horrible decisions that I made. So, I appreciate you guys for allowing me that opportunity.
man,
No problem.
man. The what do you think? What do you think is like? Um, what do you feel like you should say first? Like, what do you feel like people are asking the most? I mean, like you said, you got, over the past 4 years, you had a lot to think about, a lot coming in. So, yeah, what do you feel like? Is there anything that you would want to address first? Like, what's the most important thing?
I mean, there's so many things that I've been asked from, loved ones and even, people who I don't know, personally. And uh, I got a whole laundry list of things. But, the first thing that needs to be addressed is the fact that I did fail, to protect my daughter, Cali, and her life was lost. And I deal with the regret and the remorse and the shame behind that. But that's one of the main things that I want to address is what I could have and should have done better, in the circumstance that I was put in. But not only that, you know I'm talking about years before that situation transpired.
Mm.
There going back, there were a lot of red flags that I missed, a lot of things that in terms of how my now ex-wife Adriana treated Callie, treated myself, and those small snowballs ended up being the avalanche that, cost my daughter her life.
Okay, when you say red flags, can you give an example? I mean, I'm pretty sure people, seen the little clip on your situation, but coming from you, um, is there any red flags that you like feel like should change your perception on the situation?
Yeah, in retrospect, I mean, from the way that Avriana spoke to Callie, and demeaned her and undermined her, undervalued her, called her out of her name, and these are things that she would do to me as well. So I ended up, you know, um, kind of becoming desensitized to it and saying, that's just the way she is, or she's just upset, or that's just how she feels at the moment. But that enabled her to continue to, just disrespect Cali and, you know, make her feel like, like make her feel like she wasn't important, like she didn't matter, like she was a waste of life. She said the most horrible things to Cali, and those are things that I should have checked her on, that I should have you know spoken up about, that I shouldn't have let slide. You know, because when you let one thing slide, like I said, it enabled her to feel comfortable doing that, knowing that I wasn't willing to check her about it.
Mm, that's deep.
And I mean, besides that, just her treatment, she was just emotionally and mentally abusive, and then it comes into the physical abuse where, I would come back from, work or school, wherever I might have been, and, my daughter has bruises on her, and Ariana's explaining them, in a way that I should have recognized didn't make sense. Whether she says that she bumped her head on the table, or she fell while she was playing, or she got pushed down by her brother, or she poked her earrings through her own ears, at age, one. These are just things that should have been, they should have jumped off the page to me. And I did not recognize them. I didn't act on them.
Do you feel that there was a reason why you didn't see it, like why it was invisible to you?
Hey, reality, I can hardly hear you. Did you say, do I feel like there's a reason why they were invisible to me?
Yeah, why you didn't notice the signs, or why you didn't react?
I think that I didn't want to believe that they were true. I'm a big believer in hope and in potential and in people. So, when Ariana's telling me these things and I explain them to my family, and my family's asking the same questions as you, is that you don't think that that's a little odd that, that's the story that she came up with? But, me wanting to believe in her, I believed whatever she told me to be true. And a lot of the times my daughter would confirm it. But looking back on it now, my daughter was, afraid of Ariana. She was scared to death. And, I should have been able to recognize that on her face, when she would answer these questions and Ariana would be standing behind her. I should have known that she was kind of puppeteering, for Ariana. And I was oblivious to it, man. I don't take any pride or any glory in it, because it cost me everything I love. Those little things led to everything in the end.
Mm, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
small stuff like that can definitely get bigger, can definitely grow. Um, okay. So do you feel like your love for Ariana? Well, you basically just said that that's the reason why you didn't notice the signs, but is that love the reason why you're in this situation now?
I mean, I would be hard pressed to say that it was true love. At the end of the day, it became more of a fear of her, And I'm not here to paint myself as a victim in any way, shape, or form, But she was abusive to me, and I didn't stand up to her. I didn't speak out against her. So I almost, like I said, I became. There was a fear of her because I've seen her. I know what she was capable of doing, and she's destructive. She's evil in every sense of the word. She might be 4'11", but she's just psychotic. And I think that is the main reason why I even stayed in that relationship, was over the fear of what might happen if I did try to leave.
Mm. Um, so
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead, ask your question. Go ahead, ask your question.
No, I would just want to ask, like, both of y'all, like, would you even call that love? Like, I wouldn't even call that love.
Absolutely not. It wasn't love at all. And,
Hey,
and to be honest with you, I got married at 19 years old, and I didn't invite any of my family to the wedding. because they didn't approve, one, of me getting married so early, but two, because of who I was getting married to. I was aware of Adriana being on bipolar medication and her anger issues and things of that nature. And what really kind of pushed me into getting married was she was pregnant with my second child. So then I felt like it might be best for my family unit, to just go ahead and get married. And come to find out that Adriana's main motivation for getting married was so that, because I was going through custody court at the time, was so that we could, appear to be a stable unit in front of a custody court judge.
Not necessarily for the love. It was for that purpose only. You feel like?
No, it, it, I don't think it was for the love. I think for her motivation was for control. I think that once I became married, I fell under the impression that happy wife, happy life. You have to have your wife's back. Your wife is always right. Be a unified front. Agree in public, disagree in private, kind of thing. And that played right into her hand of everything that she intended to do.
Right.
Took advantage of him, basically. That's how I took it.
Yeah, and not just me, but she had hate toward my family. Of course, she had hate towards my daughter's mom. And she that's the only reason why she wanted custody of my daughter Cali, was so that my daughter's mom did not get custody. And so that she could kind of make the rules in terms of who in my family can see her, and she was all about control. And I basically gave her the keys to the car, so to speak.
Right. Speaking of the mother of Cali, and I've had a chance to read over the minutes of your sentencing, and I've noticed that she was torn up about being away from Cali, and was there any point, was there any point in the midst of before the situation came about, before the death came about, that you thought about returning Cali to her mom? It seems like it seemed like she feels like what any mother would feel like, what this happened to her. Do you feel like? Yeah, go ahead. What's up?
Well, so first and foremost, I just want to put it out there because I've read a lot about what's been put out and said about my daughter's mom, and I just wanted to state on the record that she was not out prostituting, and she wasn't homeless, and she wasn't on drugs. She wasn't a bad mother. She was a phenomenal mother to Cali, and she loved Cali dearly. And she did everything she could in that custody court case that we went through, which might have been a little bit biased because we had the same judge that my mother and my father had. So I'm not even sure she got a fair chance to gain custody of me. She had a medical marijuana card at the time, and that kind of became the staple of the reason why she didn't get custody. But she was a young mother. She had her second child, and she didn't deserve to lose full custody of Cali. And another thing is that throughout the years, because I got Cali at around 18 months, is when we got full custody. My daughter's mom never stopped trying to see her and trying to visit with her, trying to get pictures and videos. But my family at the time was so, in fear of Adriana's response to them sending pictures and videos that they wouldn't do it. So every time that she would reach out to any of them, they wouldn't provide it to her because of what they would have to deal with if Adriana found out. And in terms of returning her to my daughter's mom, there, if I'm being honest, and it's more because of my oblivious nature to the whole situation. There wasn't a point in time to where I said, okay, Adriana's becoming overwhelmed. It's probably a good idea to give Cali back to her mom or to take my kids and go. I think I kind of put my head in the sand, so to speak, and didn't recognize that it would probably have been, you know, Callie's saving grace if I had returned her to her mom.
Right. Yeah,
Hey, would y'all mind if we do a moment of silence for Cali?
I
Oh,
don't.
that would be
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, this is
Um,
definitely
I, I,
it's definitely a
I've
go ahead, my bad.
go ahead.
It's an emotional
No,
situation.
no, you go ahead, B. Go ahead.
It's an emotional situation all around. Um and you know I noticed you know that the little flick that was dropped on your situation, you know, it kind of it's after so many years later, like I feel like, you know, it kind of resurfaced some negative energies um amongst your families and you know the people that who was involved in the situation. I feel like that was messed up. I wanted to say that, man. I feel like that was messed up. Is there anything that you would like to add towards the decision making? Like anything that got to do with your decision before we switch lanes here?
in terms of just what influenced all of my poor decisions.
Well, yeah. Or what caused you not to make other decisions?
Okay,
That
so
makes
I mean, if it there's so much to go into, and like I said, I appreciate you guys for giving me the time to kind of unravel all of it. You know, a lot of it, like I said, was fear based. You know, given the abusive nature of my marriage, I was afraid to make decisions that would upset Brianna. You know, and I felt stuck. Right, I have my three children at the time, and you know, once once Callie passed away, I still had my two children, you know, who I had to be, you know, cognizant of when I made my decision. So that kind of it kind of you know it led to indecision, which is a big decision. You know, I was second guessing everything, and I couldn't trust myself. I couldn't stand firm on this is the right thing to do. I knew what the right thing to do was. The right thing was, first of all, the right thing was to remove Callie and myself and my other children from the situation. Period. Okay, so you didn't do that. Well, the second right thing to do is call 911 immediately, and I didn't do that because of the fear of how Ariana would respond. You know, and after that, it there was so much, you know, that I was just unable to do that it took me so long to find a route that I was comfortable with in terms of, you know, revealing this thing and letting it be known. You know, it's not something I tried to get away with. It's not something I tried to cover up. It's just something that was so, you know, it just impaired my ability to make the right decision.
yeah.
And you know, on top of that, there was drug use involved afterwards. I mean, I lost everything that I love, and you know, I you know, going back to custody court, I had just gotten out of rehab when I was going to court for my daughter, and my drug of choice was cocaine. And after my daughter passed away, that's what I went to get because that was my only way I knew how to cope. You know, the only way that I knew how to just you know I just had to numb myself, man. There was so much that was on my mind, and it didn't help in my ability to make decisions. It made it even worse, you know. So what I thought might help me to kind of continue to keep moving put me in a rut, and that's what took so long for me to find the right way to reveal it. Which was, you know, there was a gentleman, and I don't want to mention his name for privacy reasons, but I reached out to him, and he was somebody who I knew, you know, when I lived in Woodland, and somebody who I knew would be able to tell just by looking at me that something's off about Tyler. You know, something's not right. he's trying to tell me something. I try my best to give off those vibes. And I want to just apologize to him, man, because it's traumatic for everybody involved. But to discover something like that, I can't even imagine, what he's felt and what he's been through since then. And I want to apologize to him for even bringing him into the situation. But that I was just so unwilling and unable to make the right choice.
Mm.
This reality here. I got another question I wanted to ask you. Do you think that since you brought up drugs, do you think that caused the fear for you?
Do I think that getting off of drugs caused what?
No, do you think that the drugs or dabbling into the drugs was the reason that you had the fear?
Um, it played a part in it. It definitely played a part in it. You know, uh, we all know about the effects of drugs and specifically cocaine, so we don't need to delve too much into that. But the main fear was just a fear of what might happen if Avriana figured out that I was trying to reveal this to the world, trying to turn her in, not allowing her to fulfill the plans that she had even after Cali passed away, in terms of the terrible things that she was planning to do, to my daughter's body. It was horrible, and it was my way to numb all of those things that were going on around me. But it didn't help in giving me what I needed to feel comfortable making these decisions.
The reason I ask because some will say that you're a man and she's a woman. Like how could he be? How could he have fear, or how could he be in fear, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which is possible. But that's why I asked that, because I at least want the world to know, or at least seem to get an understanding on why there was fear, or why you reacted off of fear.
Right. So there's and it's true. I was not. I mean, people talk about what a man is, what a man should do. If those are what we're judging what a man is, then I definitely was not that. I was not strong. I was not confident. I had low self-esteem. I was isolated from, all the support that I had once we moved to Reno, and kind of just, broken down every day by this. Yeah, she's 4'11", by this short statured crazy woman who, would go to any length to get her way. And I've seen her, do the most crazy things prior to Cali passing away to me, to my family. So it was really just the fear of knowing that she's capable of doing anything. We're talking about, she's tried to run over me with a car and pull knives out on me and pots and pans and, things of that nature, and just, a Tasmanian devil who would, stop at nothing to get her way. And that fear started when we got married. So by the time, that's 2014. So by the time we're into 2018, all of that is just it's compounded, and I became a shell of myself. My family didn't recognize me. My loved ones, didn't even want to speak to me because they saw the changes that I went through, after getting with this woman, and they didn't approve of it. But I wasn't willing to listen to them. I wasn't willing to hear anybody out when they tried to give me relationship advice. I was just willing to, hope for the best and prepare for the worst, and the worst happened. This is not even something I could have scripted or seen, seen in my future cards, but the worst case scenario happened. And I definitely regret not listening to those people who, warned me way before I got married that she's not the right one for me. She stopped taking her medications, and when you stop taking those bipolar medications, and those sorts of things, it hits you like a rocket, like a train, and the things that you will do, there's just no limit to them.
Yeah.
So, and I'm ashamed of it, to be quite honest with you, because I've never been so weak in my life, and it's not something that I saw I didn't see the changes in myself day to day. It's just something that I became without recognizing it, and something that I live with to this day is the regret of how, not, how did I become so weak, so able to be stepped on, so able to just lay down, and not stand up for what's right, and that's still something that I'm searching to find the right answers for.
Mm. Now,
Understandable.
yeah, yeah, that was I appreciate the detail too. Um, when you say abuse with this woman, was it like a horror, like I don't, for lack of a better word, was it like horror film type abuse? Like you said, try to run you over with a car and all type of stuff. Like, how would you describe living with this woman?
I mean, looking back at it now, it definitely was, horrific. It was chaotic. There was never peace in my home, and every day, I'm walking on eggshells, trying not to upset her because of the destruction that comes after. I mean, like I said, she's tried to run over me with the car. She's pulled out knives on me, and swim at me, and pots and pans and breaking plates, and and I'm non-confrontational, right? So I like peace, and anything I could do to get peace, I was willing to do, and she knew that, so that's how she would get her way in certain situations is, throw what other people would say a temper tantrum, but to her, I mean, it was dangerous. She would be as dangerous as possible to get her way. And what happened was, when I lived in Woodland and Fairfield, my family was close, so I was able to go take my daughter, and this was before my other children were born. Take my daughter and leave. Go to my mom's. Go to my cousins. Go to the park. Go outside. There were times where we're sleeping in the parking lot, and it was so much peace. You know, and once I moved to Reno, where I don't know anybody and I don't have any family and I don't have any support, my outlet became work. So I would go to work, working two jobs, running all the errands, doing everything to stay out of her way. It became my escape. But you know, a big issue with that is that was I was unaware of the fact that if it's bad for me when I'm there, then it's got to be 10 times worse for my children, specifically my daughter, when I'm gone. And I didn't recognize or realize that at the time. It never crossed my mind, and it should have. Yeah, that's one of the things that haunts me the most is just not not being cognizant of the fact that your children have it a lot worse than you do, your daughter specifically.
Right.
And the one thing that caused me to recognize that I need to remove all of us from such a toxic situation, because no relationship is worth putting all that at risk.
Mm. So you feel like dealing with this abuse, you're around this person, you're in this toxic relationship. Do you feel like that gave you some type of PTSD or some type of trauma related symptoms that caused you to have these mental breakdowns or to not fight back? You know what I mean? Or have you stuck in like a freeze up type of zone?
Absolutely. So referring back to when I was, living closer to my family and able to lead, we're all aware of, when you're in fear, you have a few bodily responses, which are fight or flight or freeze. And at that time, I was able to, take flight, leave, take my daughter and go, and then return when it's peaceful. So once I moved to Reno and those, support options are no longer available to me, and I'm not able to go to work because I'm off, my response became freeze. Whatever she would do, I'm unable to alleviate the stress and the terror and the fear behind her actions. because I can't go anywhere, so I began to feel helpless. I began, to feel so isolated, and that played right into her hand, and it's now led to shame about the actions that I took, even before, like I said, before 2018, in order to maintain that connection with an abuser, and this has led to confusion from people who know me best, people who've known me since I was a child. They're confused about whether I was a willing participant in what was going on, and whether I allowed things to transpire, because of the trauma that I felt, and my inability to make decisions, and my inability to speak on it, because I've never had, the opportunity to come out and speak on it. So, and those are things that are important in this, is that, it was a traumatic experience, not just for me, but for everybody involved. My family deals with, the guilt and shame of what they feel they should have done better, and, what they wish they would have done. And, I just want to state for the record that, my could, with the knowledge that they had, there was a lot going on in my relationship in general and with me that I did not share with them. I didn't want them to be worried. I didn't want to appear weak. I didn't want them to be, I didn't want them to have to worry about me. So, I didn't share those things. And I come from a good family, and that's why they're so, puzzled and, confounded and confused about how this thing could happen. But, what happened was, we're all brought up with a set of morals and values, and I compromised those values in my relationship, for what I thought was the betterment of my relationship, which is the most terrible thing you can do, because that's what makes you who you are. So when I put those aside in order to appease Avriana and, to make her happy, or to have peace in my home, I was losing a piece of myself every time. And I ended up, not even knowing who I was, but being who she wanted me to be every time she needed me to be that person, which just played right into her hands. I mean, I was living out of a box. All my clothes when I lived in Reno were in a closet, and they were in a box. And I would go and pick my clothes. I was never settled. I was never comfortable. I was never at home or at peace. I was living out of a box, and that enabled her to do everything she wanted to do in terms of her abuse, and her the affairs that she was having on the side, and all the things that it just fell right into her hand. But it all started from trauma. It all started from trauma, and from the fear of what I thought that she might do, which again, I don't want to make excuses or paint myself as a victim, because the real victim is my daughter, my baby. And there should have been nothing that stopped me from doing the right thing, from saving her.
Do
And
do you
that
feel like
that's something.
my bad? Go ahead, finish. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I was just gonna say that's something that I have to live with for the rest of my life. It outlives this prison term that I'm on. It's something that I can't just leave this behind once I leave this place. This is guilt, this is shame, this is grief, that remorse, regret that I have to carry with me every single day, because I didn't save her, I didn't protect her, I didn't do all those things that a father is supposed to do for their child. And whatever the reasons I had in my mind, none of those are sufficient when we're talking about the life of your firstborn child. You know, none of that is okay. There's nothing I can say to make it okay. So I just want to put that out there, that I'm not the real victim here, because at the end of the day, regardless of what I was going through or experiencing in my relationship, I should have said enough is enough. This is way out of hand. The only way is down, and I need to take my daughter and go. And I had opportunities to do that way before we got to 2018, and I didn't take them.
Yeah. Do you feel like the sentence that you got is something that you deserve, like um that amount of time. I believe is 10 years to life is what you serving right now.
So it's 10 to life, which is really 11 because I got an additional year for transporting and things of that nature. What happened after my daughter passed away,
Uh,
and in terms of if it's enough time, I'm sorry, what?
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
In terms of if it's enough time, that's that's what I was offered, and I didn't dispute it. I didn't disagree. I didn't take it to trial and plead how innocent I am because there were mistakes that were made that led to my daughter's death. And that is what my sentence indicates, which is why I took it. And like I said, it's 10 to life, which means you could spend the rest of your life in prison. That's what that sentence means. And even if I were to be released today, there's nothing that is going to become easier for me once I leave because, like I said, it's really a death sentence. I'm going to carry this with me until the day that I pass away. So it's not something that I'll be free from. It's not something that I'll leave. Like I said, I'm not going to leave it at the gate. I'm not going to shake myself of it. This is something I have to carry with me for the rest of my life. This is something I'll have to explain to the people closest to me for the rest of my life. And that in itself is the real sentence.
Yeah, yeah, that's
So
definitely.
better like in
You know,
terms. Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, it's on you. I was just agreeing.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do. So better like in terms, he's saying there's no prison sentence that's gonna outdo the sentence he has to do in the loss of his child. Which, as a daughter of 7 girls, I totally agree. Like, there's nothing that nobody can do to me that would be sufficient to what I did to myself with this situation. So I totally understand you.
Yeah,
absolutely. And like I said, I'm not seeking sympathy. I'm not seeking. I'm not looking for people to feel bad for me. But empathy is important. And I just want to help to bring clarity to the people who were closely affected by all this. Because the list is long, and they also are affected by. This is something they have to live with for the rest of their lives as well. This is something that we all have to carry, and it doesn't get easier as days go by. So there's people who might believe that I deserve this sentence or that sentence. At the end of the day, this is something that lasts longer than any prison term that I could have received. Because I failed my daughter. I failed as a father. I failed as a protector. I played the role of provider really well, but I failed as a protector, which is more important than being a provider to your family.
yeah. So you brought up, trauma. I mean, we brought up the PTSD and things. Do you feel like there was something in Ariana from her past that made her that way?
So
Like what?
this was
I
brought
guess,
up a
I
lot.
guess, I guess my real question is, I'm gonna cut you off that quick, but what do you think would possess her to do these things? Yeah.
So it, in her trial, I'm not sure how closely everybody's followed it, but that was brought up a lot with her upbringing, and she did go through some abusive things. However, what I really feel like drove her to hate Cali was the hate that she had for Cali's mother. I think that was the main reason, and I think that every time she saw Cali's mother. And the more children that she had of her own, the more that she recognized that, she didn't believe Callie had any worth. She didn't believe Callie had any value because I believe that Avriana's thought was Callie's only value is to hurt Callie's mom. I want to take Callie away, by getting full custody so that it hurts Callie's mother.
Mm.
There wasn't any love, there wasn't any motherly bond that whatever what was minuscule in the beginning in terms of things that she would do for Callie. Like I said, as she had her own children, those things would dwindle, and there was no motherly bond, there was no motherly love There were times where Cali would say that she hated Ariana, and anything that would possess a child to say that, is 10 times worse than what would possess a person to say that to a child.
For
You
sure.
know,
For sure. For
and
sure.
and like I said, I'm not here to excuse any of Ariana's behavior, um, because I don't think that it's justification for it. But that's what I think really drove her to hate Cali was, the fact that Cali wasn't her daughter.
Yeah.
And she had animosity and hate towards Cali's mother, and that's what ultimately led her to do all the things that she would do.
Mm. Okay.
And I was not given the ability, although I was willing and ready to testify against her in her trial. However, when I spoke to the district attorney of the case, she advised me that it would kind of complicate things because it would give Ariana's attorney somebody to deflect the blame onto, and so she didn't want to involve me in the trial. But I definitely was willing and able to tell everything that I know about who she was as a person and who she was as a parent, because she was a totally different parent when it came to my other children and Cali. And I've come to find out that my other children have experienced a lot, and in terms of what was going on, but obviously Cali is the victim, you know, and the main reason is because Ariana hated my daughter's mom.
So what is it that I'm curious? What is it that you saw in Ariana that just that that had you? I mean, you said it was fear at the end of the day, but there was love at first. Before there was fear, you said that there's love. You feel me? What was it about her? What was there any good that you can extract from this?
So so I think what initially drew me toward her is that I have a tendency to try to fix people. She came from a broken home. She came from a broken family, and I wanted to give her the things that she was lacking because my upbringing didn't consist of any abuse or any broken homes or things of that nature. So I wanted to provide those things for her, and I don't even feel comfortable saying love because I mean, we were 17 when we met, and at 17, you really don't understand the concept of love.
That's why they call
So
it lust.
although I might have thought it was back then,
Little
if we
puppy
look
love.
back at it, in hindsight, there's no way that was love.
Right. Right.
But she there were times where she would just not be as terrible as she is, and I looked at those as a win. I looked at those on something we can build on. I looked at those as hope for a future. When she apologizes and says I'll be better and I'll never do this, I'll never do that again. And that relief of tension in an abuse cycle is what kept me involved and invested in the relationship. And the more children that I began to have, the more difficult it was to convince myself to pack up and go. So I think that was a key part of what kept me around is those periods of peace, however brief they were. It was always something that I could say maybe we can build on this because, like I said, I'm a huge believer in people and in hope and in potential. So I didn't want to acknowledge that she was a failed experiment that
Yeah.
that we couldn't make it work. And,
Understand.
and all those things work to my own detriment. You know, all those things work to my own detriment and to my daughter's detriment. I mean, I lost everything I love. And more than anybody can imagine. And
You-
those little pieces of peace will never be worth all of all of the images that I'm haunted by when I close my eyes at night, all of the things that, I have nightmares about and, the things you can't unsee and can't unhear, they'll never make up for that.
Mm.
This reality here again. I got a question for you. when did you
Yeah.
notice it started going downhill?
When did I my relationship?
Yes, like when did you notice? Like, because you just said, at times you felt like you had the hope and you wanted to believe and you
Yeah.
wanted to. When did you just was like, okay, it's ugly, it's bad, it's not gonna work. Like,
Yeah. So those things happened once my second child was born, and I noticed the way that she would differ in her parenting styles with my second child and with my daughter. And like my family would get them gifts, for Christmas, and she would count every single gift. And if my daughter got more than my second child, then she would throw the gifts out. Little things like that is what kind of told me that she wasn't really invested in being a family unit. She was more invested in being the mother of that particular child. And as we further along and she gets pregnant again with my third child, these toxic things are happening daily, and everything is going downhill. So even prior to moving to Reno, I saw that things were going downhill. I just a slimmer of hope I would take and run with, and it usually came in the form of her, apologizing and swearing she'll never do this and do that and be better. And those things are things that I took and I held on to, but I never held her to her word. I never said, "You told me you would be better. You're not, and now I'm gone." I never made that choice.
Do you feel like that drugs played a part played a part in that? You feel like the use was the catalyst in that situation?
I mean, the catalyst was, sure, they played a role. There were periods of drug use, sprinkled in between from when we met to this tragedy. And they definitely played a role in it. But I think that the thing that kind of drove me was the fact that I kind of put myself in a terrible position because I wasn't strong enough to even to ever leave her, or ever decide that it's not in our best interest to be here. And I kept having more children and putting myself in a deeper hole in terms of reasons why I'm going to convince myself to stay, instead of looking and recognizing the reasons why there's no way we should ever be in a relationship like this. There's no way that this is a happy marriage. There's no way that this is, that this has potential to go anywhere but destruction. So it was the drugs, yeah, but it was more of just me deceiving myself into believing that her and I could be anything more than just a terrible experiment,
Mm, that's
a
deep.
failed marriage, the byproduct of it.
Yeah. I mean, shit, man. I gotta ask you though, bro. That you had two jobs. How how much time did you get to spend at home, like in between jobs? Because you got two jobs. Are you working both of them in the same day?
Yeah, I'm working both of them in the same day. Typically, I'm coming home at, I'm leaving home at 7, 8 in the morning, and I'm coming back at 11 o'clock at night, with an hour in between jobs. So when I would come home, I wouldn't. And this is when I say that I became more of a provider than anything else. Is I wasn't looking to, you know, I was looking for time to decompress. I was looking for time alone. I wasn't, checking on my kids. I wasn't reading them stories. I wasn't, making sure that everybody is fed and dressed and comfortable, playing happy. I wasn't checking in on anybody. I was going there, decompressing, and then leaving to go to another job. And, I didn't spend that quality time with my children. And they suffered from it. You know, my daughter suffered from it, and you know, my other children, because I became a roommate. You know, I really did, and you know, with balancing two jobs and everything else, I mean, there's work related fatigue that I ended up suffering from. Is you know, when you're kind of just in a hamster wheel and you don't recognize anything else that's going on. You know, all I was worried about was working, paying bills, and things that society tells us we should do, but it doesn't say that we should neglect our other responsibilities, which is what I did.
Be honest, I couldn't imagine working two jobs in the same day, like two full-time jobs. I couldn't imagine that. Um,
It wasn't easy, but I don't, like I said, I can't allow it to be an excuse. You know, I can't allow it to be a reason that these things could have transpired. You know, because the decisions, as I stated in my sentencing, you know, the decisions that I should have made to save my daughter and save my family, they should have been made long before I ever moved to Reno and started working two jobs. You know, these are things that should have never gotten this bad to begin with.
it takes a lot of courage to do what you're doing here today, man. And like I said, we appreciate you taking the time out to give us this interview. You know, um,
And I appreciate you guys for allowing me to come out and really you know, take the stage.
yeah.
It's all love. It's all love.
Is there anything that you noticed that you kind of caught whiff of that you didn't really know the depth or severity of, but you kind of caught a hint that it was there?
And that could have led to all this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of that, you know, I want to cycle back to just, you know, her treatment of Cali. Obviously, there wasn't anything that I saw to believe that my daughter wouldn't be alive when I came home. However, there were indicators of who Avriana was and how she felt about Cali, and obvious signs that she would not change, that told me that there was no way that she would ever be a mother to Cali. And that in and of itself should have been enough to, you know, give me cause to pause and remove my daughter from that situation. Either give her back to her mom, give her to my family, you know, take myself and leave, and then figure the situation out with my other children afterwards. You know, there was a situation where CPS had got called, and you know, my daughter has bruises, and you know, her hand is burned, and all these things are explained away by Avriana, and they should have been red flags to me that said that your daughter is in danger, because this woman is cruel, she is evil, she is mean spirited, and just, you know, she is toxic, and she would stop at nothing to ultimately take Callie's life. That was her goal. And, you know, even though there was nothing I could identify that said, you know, my daughter wouldn't be alive, you know, there were things that I should have acted on that would have prevented us from ever coming to that situation. If I did act on it, she would still be here. You know, I would trade my life for hers in a heartbeat. You know, and she deserves to be here. And the fact that she's not, you know, it hurts every single day. You know, and you know, this is something that like I say, you just don't get over. You just don't move on. You don't forgive yourself. You know, I'm not surprised that there are people out there who don't forgive me, because it's so difficult for me to even imagine forgiving myself.
We big on mental health here on the Slap Alert, man. I hope you, if you need to speak to somebody, make sure you speak to somebody or find ways to, you know, ground yourself. I mean, you know, it's a terrible situation all the way around. My condolences. I understand that you and Avriana were in contact when you guys were first incarcerated. for the situation. What do you were you guys gonna like rock it out? Were you still in love at that point? Like I noticed because to be honest, I watched a little bit that they did on your case, and I was curious as to where you guys were going after this. Meaning, because the way it kind of it portrays it as if she's the blame, and you're the victim and this and that. You kind of in like a like I'm not gonna say positive, but more like in a passive demeanor, and hers is more of like how she's portrayed, evil. I guess what my question is, what was the reason for you to stay in contact with her if you were trying to get away from her? You know what I mean? Like what were you guys speaking about? I mean, I came across some files and things, but kind of want to hear from you. Was it like was she still your piece at that point, or was it more of you trying to see where her head was at? Because I understand this is back in 2018, so you guys weren't sentenced yet. You guys are still going through your court proceedings and things. You feel me? What were you guys? What were you guys cool? Like, how was it? How did that play out?
So she sent me a few postcards, and the majority of them are, especially the first one I ever received from her was basically stating, for me to throw myself under the bus for her. She said things like, I don't, I don't deserve to be here, and you know, you can do this, and I'll hold it down for you when I'm out, and that our children need me, and things of that nature. You know, in terms of continuing to hope that she had that manipulative hold over me, which
I was just about to
as
add to
time
that
went on,
more manipulation. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, that's what it was, is emotional and mental manipulation that she tried. That was her only savior, is if I would have come out and said I did everything and she did nothing. But that was never going to be the case. And we stayed in contact up until I was, to be sentenced, because I wanted to see if she would actually accept or explain anything that went on. I mean, to be honest, there's a majority of time where I wasn't inside the home. So I'm learning about a lot of things that happened while I was gone through these detectives and through my attorney. So these are questions that I needed answers to myself, which I posed to her through, postcards. And
Huh.
I turned everything into the district attorney and to to my attorney, and they were never used because, she had a specific way of kind of like writing in circles or different patterns, so that nobody would decipher what she was trying to say. The first letter that she wrote me was in code, and I had to decipher it with the Bible. She picked out Bible verses, and each one represented a letter. I mean, she was plotting and scheming on a way out, and that she thought that I would provide to her. So, for the end of
Wait,
our, time
she sent you a puzzle as a note.
pretty much it was a puzzle. It was a code, and I was supposed to decipher it. And that's the one that mentioned, you know, throw yourself under the bus, and you know that the kids need me, and that I don't deserve to be here. And that was the majority of her postcards. Was, like I said, it was a form of manipulation. Those are the things that I would fall for before this. Those are the things that I would have her back. I would, lie to my family. I would not tell the whole story so that she doesn't look as bad to my family when these things were going on. So she thought that that would continue as time went on after my daughter passed away. And that wasn't on my agenda. I was away from her. I was clear headed, clear minded, and I just needed answers to my own questions that I thought she might provide. you know and like I said, this is not about me as a victim, but there were a lot of things that went on. I mean, these detectives would bring me interviews from men who I've never heard of, never seen before. And they're like, well, these guys have been all up in your house. These guys know where you live. These guys have seen your children. And those were questions that I had answers that I needed answers for, but also just, how could you be so cruel, as to fulfill an evil plan, a methodical plan like this? That's what I wanted to know. Because, like I said, there were things that I was unaware of and that I wanted answers to so that I could get some kind of understanding, sort of like I'm providing to anybody who might be listening today. I needed that from her. But, unfortunately, she is who she is, and there's things that she's going to take to the grave that nobody will ever know. And she is a psychopath, and they find victory in that. She finds, pleasure in knowing that there are pieces of the puzzle that nobody can feel because, Callie's not here to share her story, and Ariana's going to take that to the grave with her.
It's a sad situation all around.
All around.
I gotta say, man, I feel like you were convicted more on what you didn't do. You know what I mean? I mean, when you look at the facts in the case or the evidence that was provided, you see what's going on. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you were more, like I said, convicted of what you on what you didn't do. You know what I mean? And like you said, that's hard to live with, bro. You know, like I said, my condolences. Uh, is there anything that you like to add or say to the folks before we wrap this thing up?
So, to piggyback on your point, I definitely agree in terms of, I that was what my conviction was for, was not preventing my daughter's death. You know, Obviously Ariana caused it in her own crazy and methodical way, but there were so many things I could have done to prevent it beforehand. Whether I saw it as something that was, that could lead to death, or just as something that's not how you treat a child. There were things that I should have acted on, and I didn't, and that is the regret and the shame that I carry around, every day, and those things will never leave, you know, and I definitely, like I said, I appreciate you guys for giving me this opportunity because these are things I've been carrying, for 4 years and really longer than that because, in terms of just how my marriage was, so it's been about 9 years since I've been able to really speak on any of these things, and I just appreciate the opportunity, and if this provides clarity to people, then that's best case scenario, but as long as I'm able to now have gotten these things off of my heart, I'm thankful for you guys providing me with that opportunity, and I had opportunities to interview with the news and the documentaries, and I'm not here promoting a book. I don't want to participate in anything that would exploit my daughter's death, because I'm doing everything I can now to honor her. I'm in therapy, I'm in school, I'm reading these books and trying to identify the root causes that could have led me to be put in a situation like this. So I'm doing what I can to honor. So I never want to exploit my daughter's death. I don't want to try to monetize. I'm not looking for that. I was just looking for an opportunity to acknowledge what's been said, and to answer these questions, because your guys' questions are similar to the questions that I've been asked by people closest to me. This is common sense questions that people want to know. So, like I said, I appreciate you guys for allowing me to do this. It's emotional, and it's not an easy thing to discuss. So, like I said, I'm just grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah, man. Like I said, thank you for your time and thank you for allowing us to get your message out there, bro. Like I said, the situation is it's sad all around. Um, Nobody should have to go through this. You know what I mean? Um,
And you know, the last thing I want to add is that you know my family carries a lot of guilt and regret, and same with my daughter's mom. And you know, my hope is that one day, you know, they'll be able to you know to let some of that go in terms of you know recognizing that this is not their fault. This is not in any way, shape, or form do they have a portion of blame in this. You know, people on the internet and you know on these public forums are going to say whatever they say, you know, and a lot of it is going to be you know, exaggerated because they hide behind a screen or whatever the case, right? And I just hope that my family one day can heal from the pain and regret that they carry. Because, you know, as I mentioned before, they did the best they could with the knowledge that they had. If they were under the impression that anything tragic could have, you know, transpired, they would have kicked my door down and grabbed Cali and taken her. You know, if Leonie had if my daughter's mom had known that, you know, this was in the cards, you know, she would have stopped at nothing to get her daughter back, you know, and I just hope that you know one day that they'll be able to you know realize and recognize that this is not on them.
man, my condolences to everybody involved. Really, the mother, your child, your family, and not only you guys are all going through this. There's time to heal. I've been known to be optimistic, and I know the difference between positive energy and negative energy. Your energy has been positive this time that we've had here. You know, I wish you the best, brother. I wish that you know, you find whatever it is that you're looking for to fill that void. You know, um, yeah. Reality, you got something for him?
Just man, I'm praying for you, man. I'm a firm believer in a higher source, and you know, and I believe, you know, everything happens for a reason, and we never know what that reason is, and we'll probably never find out exactly what certain purposes is. But I know that as long as we stay positive, and as long as we don't try to do anything in our own nature to try to, you know, demean shit that's going on, or facts that's going on in life, you'll get answers. If it's not on this side, it's on the other side, man. And just know that as a father of 7 girls, my heart is out for you, man, and it always will be.
Listen, I definitely appreciate both of you guys, and something else that I want to leave with is that you know I can only hope that my story and my situation can be a lesson to anybody, you know, who's going through anything similar. I mean, male victims of domestic violence are not recognized in our society,
You're right.
you know, unfortunately.
You're right.
And the evil stepmother from Cinderella came true in my life. You know, so those things happen out there, and hopefully this will shine a little light on those instances and those scenarios, and I can be the example. I have to stand as the example, you know, as that. So you know whatever form it might help somebody to learn from or to you know not have to experience. I think that's beneficial, you know, and I have to try to find silver lining like that. You know, that's the only way to really keep going is to try to you know do right every day. You know, there's no way that I can make things better, but you know I can just do right every day and try to help others with you know who might be going through a similar thing. And it's not often, right? Because as I said before, I used to tell myself that you know these are things that these are decisions everybody would have made, but it's not true. That's what I would tell myself, you know, before I came to a place of understanding that these are the decisions I made for the reasons in which I explain, you know, as far as what influenced me. These aren't decisions that everybody would make being put in that situation. But you know, everybody who is put in a situation like that, I just hope that they can take a piece from, you know, this sit down and conversation that we've had and really decide to you know make the right choice.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like people that are in toxic relationships can learn from this. I feel like people that are dealing with substance abuse can learn from this. Um, parent just from a parenting aspect, you'll feel for this. You'll learn something. You'll be like a little bit more careful, I guess. I mean, everybody can learn from this situation, bro. I mean, you had to be the epitome of it, but it seems like you owning it, man, and I commend you for that. Commend you for that.
Like I said, guys, I just I appreciate the opportunity, and you know, I definitely I, I'm grateful for you guys, you know, and you don't know how much it means to be able to come out and finally get these things out, man. It's tough to carry, so you know, like I said, I can't thank you guys enough for allowing me this opportunity.
Man, there you have it, man. Um, bless that man soul. Bless the family of Cali. Rest in peace to Cali.
Rest
And
in peace, Cali, man.
bless everybody who was affected by this situation. It's a sad situation all around, man. If you see any similarities in your situation and that are in we're in Tyler's situation, then you should probably take heed because seeds do
You
grow.
know somebody, a family member or something that's going through a traumatic situation or abusive relationship or anything, like don't be afraid to like be there for your loved one. Like be in their business. You feel me? Like see what's going on. Like go to a nigga house, knock on nigga door unsuspectedly. Like especially y'all family, y'all blood. I'm knocking at a nigga door. Like I am not announcing I'm coming. Like if I know something is going on, I need to figure out what's going on with my loved one. Like is everything okay? Because you do never know what's going on behind closed doors. You never know what's going on behind closed doors.
Right, man. If any of this resonated with you, man, go ahead and push that subscribe button. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram. Pay attention to your mental health, man. Health is wealth. Uh, and love, man. Spread love, man.
Positivity.